Okay, I'm going to go over the wing division, and then I'll do 2 other videos to cover some of the other aspects, but I'm going to go over the second and first set, and then I'm going to go over the subset, okay, we should learn. Caveat note, I did alter the professor's diagram, because there are features on this diagram that were absent that I feel are needed later on. So there is a difference between my diagram and his. So ideally go with his, but mine has better features because it's important and it's freaking off center, and I corrected mine just a little. Okay, so we're gonna cover the forewing, the hindwing, and the pagina, or paginia. So I'm gonna give you a picture of a moth. Nice broad wing moth right there that is spread out so you can see both the forewing and the hindwing. I'm going to screw that up, so just try to stick with me. Don't follow my hands, follow my voice. The forewing. The abbreviation is FW. My letter designation is A. My color designation is lime green in my diagram. It has interchangeable terms depending on who you're reading, especially if you're going with Christensen or Comstock. Wow. Oh. So the forewing is either called the superior, the primary, the anterior, or the upper set. Okay. Modern literature calls it just the forewing. Okay. What can I tell you about the forewing? It is the bigger and brighter of the pair. Okay. It is more detailed and usually has the pattern for IDing, especially in moths. This is not always the case in butterflies, but in general, it is where the ID pattern is, okay? A lot of the distinct characteristic spots and dashes and lines are on the forewing. That is not to say there are not something on the hindwing, but in general, you are going to be looking at the forewing and the different characteristics on that wing for the IDs, okay? Asterisk, note, this set of wings defines a resting position. In the case of like a broad-wing moth, it's spread out. In the case of a butterfly, it's up and together. In the case of certain archer moths, it's in the jetting position. In the case of the plume moths, it's in a T position. Where the forewings are positioned during resting is incredibly important for describing the moths in their natural habitat, okay? When you are pinning, they are not in the resting position, but it is important to know their natural resting position and being able to describe it, and you will look at the forewing for that. Hind wings. Okay, so hind wings, the abbreviation is FW. The letter designation I use is B, and the color code is dark green, okay? For Comstock and Christensen and any of the other people like Snodgrass, they are going to be called the inferior, the secondary, the posterior, or the lower, okay? In general, the hind wing is smaller, it's drab, and often reduced in color or detail. However, this is not always the case. If you look at the underwing moths, they deviate from this. If you look at some of the smaller micro moths, they deviate from this sometimes. Sometimes they don't, okay? This is a general rule. It is really key in understanding that concept. Now here comes the problem. Hind wings are not described often. If they are described in limited use, and most sources you will read won't even include it. So when we are writing down our morphological documentation and descriptions, I would highly suggest including descriptions for the hind wings, okay? Whether that is just simply to say where the discal spot is, or whether the edge is fringed, or what color the hind wing is, it really also plays a huge part in venation. So as much as it's not utilized, it should be. Okay? All right, now we're going to go over something really important that is not so important right now in Entomology 101 or Lepidoptera 101. It is extremely important as you get into the micro morphology and microstructures later on down the road, and that is the Pagina, okay? I'm going to try this correctly. The abbreviations vary. It is either PA, PGA, PNA, okay? I've also read one point that used it as PGN, I think. For my reference, it is C and D, and it is teal, okay? It goes in a dorsal lateral direction. This refers to the skin surface, okay? It is which side of the wing are you looking at? It goes dorsal, above, supine, upper side, okay? Goes lateral, below, prone, underside. It becomes extremely important when we are looking at scales. Extremely, because the supine side of the scale is the detailed side. The smooth side is the prone. Okay, it matters though in the wings too, because sometimes there are markings, especially on butterflies, that are on one side of the wing and not on the other side. So you need to know the pagina of the wing, what pagina you're looking at of the wing or the scale. So, one other thing, it's easiest to figure out when the moth is in the resting position. When you are pinning, you are always looking at the dorsal, okay? You are always looking at the supine and the upper. You are never looking at the prone and the below and the lateral. So that is something to keep in mind when you look at my pictures. That's why I'm kind of referencing, okay? So, this covers your forewing, your hindwing, and your pagina. It is supposed to be pagina. It's Latin, and it's used in botany too, if you really want to get fun. So, hope that helps. I know it's kind of rushed. I know it's condensed, but it's the best way I know how to explain these.